Indiana Jones, It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. Indiana Jones Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute. Today's the day we plunge off of a cliff. Will we miraculously and mysteriously survive? Keep listening to find out, because frankly, I don't know. I'm Pete Mummert.
I do know, but I'm not telling. I'm Tom Taylor.
Yeah, I forget. What happens? The way this minute ends, I don't know. I'm pins and I don't know, fruitcakes. I'm Gerald Christopher St. Dymphna. No, you
totally
you
made
continue
up.
to laugh.
Totally
you
made
continue
up.
to laugh, Peter, because this one's for you.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah. She protects against stress and anxiety.
Oh.
Well, that's why I've got it, because I laughed at her
Yeah.
name. Yeah.
You've been praying to her. I think it's perfect for this minute, though. We
What's her
plunge
name?
off a cliff.
Dymphna?
Dymphna.
How do you spell it?
Dymphna.
Huh. It's a
Yeah.
lovely name. Dymphna.
Yeah, she was murdered by her father.
Jesus.
It's not a good story, actually. Don't look it up. let's just keep it light at stress and
I
anxiety.
can see where the stress and anxiety might come from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dear diary, my dad's killing me. It's bumming me out.
Terrible. Porter.
Oh,
Porter. Yeah, I was waiting.
Yeah.
And today we're joined once again by the United States Postal Service's very finest, Gordie Adams. Welcome back, Gordie.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
So real quick before we get started, I got to ask you, Jer, about these saints. Are patron saints the same as regular saints where there have to be miracles attributed to them for them to get sainthood?
This could be one for. That's a great question, and this would be one for Father Mowry. But the official answer, at least my official answer, which is unofficial, is
we're in shaky ground already.
To be canonized a saint, you can't get into that little fun group unless you have miracles attributed to you. Now, there is a protocol or process. I think there's venerations, and then beatification, I think, is the penultimate step to sainthood.
Can you be
canonized a saint?
Can you be a saint without being a I can't say it. Patron saint?
Patron saint.
I'm sure it's. I would imagine that's possible, but why would you be? It's so much fun.
Well, yeah, but I'm wondering,
I
like, you have
can't-
to earn the patron part.
That's a great question. I don't know if you get attributed, a profession, or you things that you protect, ailments and agues you protect against. When
Wow.
plagues, infections, ailments, agues, viruses that you protect against when you get canonized. I don't know.
And do you have to, as the saint, do you have to have direct experience with whatever ailment or ague you're...
Well, no, usually they do. Like the dude who, what was it was it yesterday's or day ago? The guy was, he's a beekeeper, the apiary. What was it? The guy who protected apiaries, apiarists. Yeah, I mean, that dude probably ate a lot of honey. I mean, they usually, like, there's guys like that'll be, they try and keep it close enough when you start reading their lives. Yeah, you're like, okay, this guy was
allergic to bees
run over
and got stung
by a
like
stampede.
300 times. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's always, I mean, I'm not kidding. It's always usually macabre, where it's like a guy was trampled and now he's the patron saint of the cavalry. It
like
is
that.
something, or or a guy, is melted and like toad or something, and he'll be like patron saint of candle makers.
it seems kind of cruel. Like, for the rest of eternity, they have to deal with the thing that killed them. That doesn't seem nice.
Well, no, but that's, I mean,
It's
but
kind
in
of a
a
silver
way, that's
lining,
kind
too,
of where
depending
they,
how you look at it.
yeah, They also, I think that's where that's why you pray to them, and that's sort of where they get their strength and associations, because they're so frequently they're martyrs.
But is that awkward?
so
Like, I don't want to end up like you. Please help me not be like you.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
It was horrible the
Yeah, a
way you
little
died.
bit.
How do I avoid that?
Yeah, you had your arms whipped
That must have
off.
really,
What was the
really
one-
hurt.
You know the craziest thing? I looked him up, and Pete, you'll know this because you've been to Prague, right?
Uh huh.
So is it St. Vitus Church?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that's the famous church where I think I have to look this one up again, but I think they took St. Vitus and they tied his arms behind his back, and then they threw him out the window, and he was still tied, so like his arms all became dislocated, and now he's I believe the patron saint of dancing.
What?
I'm not.
History is full of bored people who are trying to coming up with stuff.
Somebody's got to do the job.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's St. Vitus Dance. According to a Christian legend, was a Christian saint from Sicily, died martyred
Wow.
during the persecution. Yeah,
It's a Black Sabbath song.
there's more than one of them. I don't want to. Yeah, there might be more than one.
That's
there's
funny,
there's a
dude.
lot of them.
That city is replete with defenestrations. Because that's not even the one in the castle.
Pick the window you want to go
Yeah.
through. Pick the window.
Yeah.
Well,
So, real quick, just since we're on the religion, I want to return to religion at some point. But to be a saint, do you have to be Catholic, or can you just be?
Well, I think that's
you have to be. You can't just be somebody that they chose to be.
no. You can't
Okay.
you can't get in the door unless
Gotcha. But they don't just
Yeah.
you don't just
They
choose
ca-
some
yeah.
guy down the street. It's like that guy probably
No.
could be the saint of chickens, but he's not Catholic, so we got to pick somebody who's already in the club.
Nah, you don't. Yeah, they card you. before you
Okay,
get in.
right. They card you in there.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Good.
You're not even.
My dad was Catholic. Could I? That's not enough, I think.
Nah,
though.
that's not it. I
Yeah,
mean, you
it's not
can sit in. Maybe you can sit outside the club. That's real nice, Gordy.
I could be an elder. I was a
Yeah, that's real nice,
Presbyterian.
Gordy.
you can park the cars. Toss the
Exactly.
keys.
Bouncer won't let me
They
in.
don't- I mean, the whole point of it is you're supposed to draw inspiration from their lives.
Right,
So,
right.
Yeah, or they're just supposed to help you if you're suffering.
Speaking of suffering,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Minute 97. Minute 97 begins with Sallah tipping his fez to the Jones boys,
no.
and it ends with Henry looking down at what he can only assume is the remains of his late wife's ears.
Oh my gosh.
Whoa.
Like this minute wasn't brutal enough already.
I know, really.
Jeez.
Well, we've been making, it's not hard to make comparisons throughout this entire tank desert chase sequence to the truck chase in Raiders. And here we've got another balding Nazi dad guy. Vogel's hat comes off, and all of a sudden we find out he's a balding Nazi, just like the Nazi dad in the truck chase.
Yeah.
Yeah. I find that strangely charming. Like it's strangely humanizing when you find out the guy's balding.
Yeah.
He's just been wearing this like severe, totalitarian hat this whole time as part of this uniform, and then you find, oh no, he's got some, it's fading,
Well,
light
we've
on
got
top.
Another callback that I just thought of, and I suddenly can't remember if it's true, but if you notice, Vogel's counting off his punches. He goes, Eins.
Oh, really?
Oh
Zwei.
wow!
Oh, is
And
he?
Didn't Pat Roach do that
Really?
in Raiders?
Oh,
I can't remember, but I think he did.
Wow!
So
I
maybe
think
there's
that
like a
sounds
Nazi
familiar,
punching
yeah.
school where they teach you to like. You
Punching school.
Yeah.
The
Practice
NPS,
your
yeah.
brutality. Yeah.
You need to make sure. Yeah. You need
Do
to
you think
sure.
the leather coat would provide a lot of protection to those rib punches?
He doesn't seem like a
Maybe.
big guy, so I don't know what kind of power he has behind those punches.
Yeah, especially he can't have a lot of leverage if he's kind of wobbly on standing up on the tank anyway.
Yeah, and he lost
That's
his
true.
hat. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
All of his
Bald
power's
dude
gone.
hitting him.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Those are kind of kidney punches, aren't they?
They are. Yeah.
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 It almost looks like he's stabbing him in the side, but you realize
It
no,
does.
no,
I
he's just
wondered
going for his
if there was
kidney.
if there was like a shiv. That's
Yeah.
kind of like the posterior rucksuckle.
Right. The lesser rucksuckle.
Yeah.
Rucksuckle
Exactly.
minor.
But that's why they look. I mean, they're kind of great punches because
Yeah.
you're watching it and you're like, oh, that's not fair.
Yeah.
That's
yeah. No, it
dirty.
does seem,
Yeah.
That's just to hurt him.
right in the back
Yeah.
sackle.
Exactly.
And we're totally into the back to the punches sounding like gunshots. Like,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
just straight up. Indy's not the only one who punches like a gunshot.
Right.
Yeah. It's yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of the sounds that Indy makes, like maybe not as much in this minute, but like the couple minutes before this, he sounds like Indy when he's getting those cardiac punches from Pat Roach in Temple of Doom. Like
Yeah.
he's like, ugh, like he just sounds like he's in mortal pain.
Mm-hmm. And then again, the truck chase. He just goes nuts on Vogel, just beating his head against the, not the dashboard in this case, but he just beating his head against the hardest metalist thing he can find, just over and over again. Which is kind of satisfying.
Speaking of sorrowful incidents,
Uh-huh.
I
Yes.
have a question for you or a comment, Pete. Why does Sallah tip his hat to Indy here?
No, not to Indy. He says, "Father of Indy."
Is that what he says?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
he does.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I wrote it down, because it's like completely out. Just what? Is he meeting him for the first time? Is he
Is
just
that what he says?
Yeah.
Yeah, he says,
yes.
"Father of Indy, give me your hand."
He doffs his fez and says, "Father of Indy." That's why he doffs his. He's introducing himself like Father of Indy. I'm not sure if it's the first time,
It's
or
not.
if
They've
he's
hung out.
drunk, or
They've
if
been
he's
in cars together.
It's just is it reverence because he's the father. It really baffled me when I saw that Sallah would say that, and it's
Why
not
doesn't this movie like Sallah?
No,
Salah's
it's
cool.
yeah. He was
Yeah.
cool.
respect. I don't understand. But
And
it's-
again, this is kind of the colonial, like we're gonna make Sallah speak
Yeah.
English in this weird
right,
way, like
right.
he doesn't understand how the world works, or he doesn't.
Belly
Like,
of
That-
the
that's
beast
why-
and-
yeah.
yeah,
Oh, you
Yeah.
think that's it? Oh, you think it's comic relief that he's an incompetent? Oh,
Yeah.
that's funny.
Not even
Okay.
comic relief necessarily, but just like, oh, he's sort of other. He's sort of,
Yeah.
Tonto doesn't speak good, but
Yeah.
he's wise in his
Yeah.
own way, but we don't want to get behind it. It's
Yeah.
like,
yeah.
That sucks.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's weird.
Well, that was my note here, Pete. I wondered if you saw this as one of those like a colonialism sort
Yeah,
of
it's
thing.
like the belly of the beast
Is-
thing, and
Yeah.
and he is.
Yeah.
He's very deferential. Like he tips his fez, and he's. I don't know. I don't like it.
You can see the fez thing is like, hey, I still got that fez you tried to make me get rid of, you jerk. I got rid of the fez. Take that, Joe.
Well, I mean, they'd say like I think you'd say like, oh well, he's a gentleman. That's what
Right.
he's doing.
Right.
Yeah,
He's
that's
a
all he's
subservient
doing.
Father of
gentleman.
Indy.
Do you think he
Yeah.
knows
Yeah, yeah.
Henry's name? Do you think he knows that his name is Henry?
Yeah, I don't think he would. Yeah, I don't think he would
You
deign
call
or
him
not deign. I
Henry?
don't think he would feel comfortable speaking his name.
Oh,
Do
he
you
might
think
get
that
hit.
maybe he prays to Saint Benedict, patron saint of
Here we go.
servants who have broken their master's belongings?
Oh, you did that one.
That's a
already,
little bit of that
didn't
vibe.
you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
talking about earlier this week or
That's a
whatever.
call.
Well,
back.
in a way, I guess
Yeah.
in 1938 there was a lot of colonialism, so this might have been an actual attitude at the time, as well as Spielberg, I think, getting a little iffy with some of his racial treatment.
It doesn't come off that way. It just comes off as like the movie not understanding its own characters, who we already know and like.
Yeah.
It's
You
frustrating.
don't say.
That happens sometimes, Jerry. It's weird.
Why? What on earth do you mean?
I have a thing about everyone knows what second this is. Second 26. Have Indiana Jones or Harrison Ford ever looked weirder than in the shot where his hat flies off and it goes right into his face and he sees that he's about to go off a cliff? He
And
looks
you see
so
that he's got
weird.
He's got like a farmer's tan from his hat. Like he's got this
and
white
he's-
line around the top of his head.
Yeah. And he's cross-eyed and he doesn't look like Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
He looks like Stephen King in Creepshow. He's just like somebody just hit him with a frying pan. He's like, "Oh, I'm going to go off a cliff."
He looks like he'd be like in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yeah, totally. We thought
Like
you
he's-
was a horny toad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's exactly what he looks like.
I thought it was. I thought it was kind of interesting because he loses his hat, meaning he's vulnerable. We don't, actually, I'm watching it. I'm not even gonna finish it. You're right, he does. Which is damn near impossible to make Harrison Ford look stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
That was only
there
a
you
handful
go.
of times.
Yeah.
There is one thing I noticed. I love how it was a pinch before this that he loses his hat. Like Vogel is just sitting there hugging Indy while he lets his dad get rescued.
He keeps
his dad get rescued.
He keeps like leaving his fist where he punched Indy. Like he's like just sort of like shoving it into his kidneys or something. Like but it looks like he's just kind of holding him. Like
he is.
He's just kind of holding him. Yeah.
Yeah, that's old theater style punching. That I used to do that in high school. There was this guy I was a pretty skinny guy, but there was a good friend who was even skinnier, and I would do that same thing. And I wasn't a nerd and not violent at all, but I would do these big giant punches from way behind, and I would like put it in his chest, and he would just lift himself up off the ground, and it was all just completely faked, but it looked like so he probably went to the same theater school.
And you don't notice him unless you watch it really slowly. Like I've never noticed that he kind of holds him up and like you said, punches him and then leaves his fist right there in a supportive manner.
Right.
Yeah.
Wrestling style.
Yeah.
Right.
He's kind of like, "Are you all right? You okay?" Yeah.
I got you. Indy.
Is that all right?
Settled in.
On the count of 4.
Speaking of all right, I absolutely love the shot of Vogel screaming as the tank goes over the cliff.
Interesting.
Wow.
Jerry?
Oh, so you're jumping up that far ahead. Okay.
Oh, you guys.
No.
have more?
That was
it's
my
fine.
next note.
Yeah.
I thought that I think it's fascinating that we have one of the best shots of the movie with the tank, going right over the cliff,
Barreling toward the cliff. Yeah.
followed by one of the worst shots of the movie.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Like perfect, just a beautiful, amazing action shot, followed by like the Muppet movie.
Straight up Wile E. Coyote. Yeah. It's just.
Yeah.
Followed by a Tonka truck. That somebody drops in like a playground. Yeah.
But I like those three things because when you see his screaming face approach the camera, it looks like it's something right out of the end of Raiders. Like it's kind of that same.
Right. Well, that's the thing. The technology of it kind of overshadows the awesomeness of the shot. The shot is actually very cool.
Yeah.
But when you look at it, it's just like, that is fake. And
it's exactly
I think that's
like
the problem. Yeah.
It's exactly like the plane chase. We had all these beautiful natural shots of the planes flying around each other over Spain or wherever it was. And then you get these like really kind of not well pulled off effect shots, and it was really distracting and upsetting.
Yeah,
and that's the same thing
effect.
here. Yeah, like the idea of the shot is cool.
Yeah.
Vogel coming right at you. But it looks just like Dick Jones at the end of RoboCop. It's just like very fakey. Like I don't know if this is a puppet, but it looks like a puppet.
Yeah.
It's like very just awkward.
The little puppet of him that bounces around with the tank when it comes apart at the end.
Oh, yeah.
It just looks like it's X-Acto knifed out and then just kind of slowly coming towards the camera with a matte painting behind it. It's just like it doesn't look like good CGI.
Color
at
form's
all.
fun.
Right, exactly. Color forms, that's fun.
This looks to me like it's from like 1960.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It looks. I mean, I would think in 1989. I mean, effects were better than this.
Yeah, like a Roger Corman film or something.
I think the Tonka truck tank almost makes me a little more annoyed because at least like the Vogel thing, they're trying something new. They're trying something. They're kind of like they did with the airplane, that going right into the guy's face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like this tank is like ILM. These guys gave us like Imperial walkers. Like some of the most amazing things we've ever seen in our lives, and then like all they have to do is like fake a tank going off a cliff and landing in a credible way, and it just looks
like a Hot Wheels.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
Hot Wheels.
Yeah. So
my truck broke. My tank broke. Top fell off. My doll came out of it.
Pete, do you like the scene? Why is it that you like the scene?
Oh, I just love how like the expression on Vogel's face looks like the three guys at the end of Raiders, like a face is about to melt or blow up.
Right.
And like his eyes are bulging out. And,
yeah.
And the kid gets closer and closer to the camera. I love that. I just love the shot. I mean, I know the special effects not great, but
would you like a special edition where they clean that up?
Yeah.
I kind of like the campiness of it, though. It works for me.
It works. The issue I have with it is that he shouldn't even be alive to scream going over the cliff, because how many times can you get your head smashed into a tank and then you'll die pretty quick? I mean, and this goes back to the brutality of Indiana. It's like he shot those 3 guys, on accident a couple minutes back, and this time he's just bam, bam, bam. It's like those move. Something like that is like a banned movie now. Some European art film where people just kill each other all the time.
Right before this, didn't Indy see the cliff coming?
Well, I can't figure out if he did or not because I don't know where Indy is or what happens to Indy. I have no idea what happens to Indy.
But he
goes off the cliff. He dies.
Yeah. Yeah, I have no idea what happened to me. But I mean, even just before, I understand he's distracted, and that's totally fair. But I thought that you just sort of, by the way he was looking and reacting, and sort of in some of the previous minutes, that he knew that there was a cliff there.
I don't know. That's a good question.
What crossed my mind is I thought, maybe he's a little bit OCD. Like it's just not going to be right unless I smash Vogel's face one more time. I always have to end things on even.
Yeah. How many times did they do it in Raiders?
But that old brother look makes me think that he didn't know that the cliff was coming until right then.
He didn't know a thing.
Well, it's like, but if you watch the scene, it's like he sees the cliff, then he starts face smashing, and then he completely forgets about it, or maybe he starts counting his face smashes, and then he looks back up.
Yeah.
But if you watch it, like I'm looking at the second 20, he sees that there's a cliff right there.
Maybe he thought he could get 5 face smashes in the time to get to the cliff, but then he overdid it. He's like, oh no, I can only do 4. Oh geez.
Okay, so I've been teasing there was something in the earlier script that got cut here.
Oh,
I think this would cause Jerry would perhaps have a stroke if this were in the movie. But in an earlier draft, when the tank goes off the cliff, Indy somehow saves himself by cutting off part of his pants. And when he gets back up to the top of the cliff, he's trying to hold his pants up around his waist with his hands. And Henry calls him Junior, and Sallah laughs and says, Junior, and slaps him on the back, and it causes him to drop his pants around his ankles.
Oh, man.
Is there a slide whistle sound when his pants drop?
Does Indy jump off the cliff? Commit suicide?
Zoinks.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Wow.
So,
well, you know what, though? I'm not surprised.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. That's kind of that's the timbre here.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
And we got to give him credit for not doing that.
Yeah.
They had
sure.
that idea, and they said, this isn't going to work in this Indiana Jones film. Let's not do that stupid thing.
Yeah, that's clearly a bad idea.
Yeah. Did you at the very end of this minute where everybody kind of runs over to the edge, that Marcus kind of comes back, and I don't know if he's feigning like he knows what's happening, or like if he's like, oh yeah, there's a cliff. I don't know what all of a sudden he's like paying attention. But what's fascinating is that natural? Is that John Rhys Davies' natural run? Because it's beautiful. You're like, that's exactly how Sallah runs. He kind of has this, like, his pants are a little baggy, and he kind of has a scramble damble.
Wait, I'm waiting to see it.
I'm just watching it. Yeah.
It's almost like he has like egg beaters for legs. You know what I mean? And it's perfect. You're like, yeah, he like scurries.
Yeah,
he's a scurrier. Yeah,
he's in a hurry.
See, I can't even watch it because I'm too anxious watching Henry run and stop right at the edge of the cliff.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
Like, you got to keep going.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was your son, Pete, you just yell over the cliff.
Yeah,
from like 100 feet back.
Yeah.
Hey, Junior, is everything all right?
Send him a postcard to the bottom of the cliff.
So, do you remember what scenes I had in Temple of Doom minute?
Yeah, we were on the ladder, and we were talking about the satchel there.
Yeah, where a bad guy fell off a cliff, and we were wondering if Indy was going to make it or not. And this is the same exact scene that you guys have. Was that on purpose?
Wow.
Oh, totally. Oh, yes.
yeah,
Absolutely. This is a well-crafted machine.
Yeah, remember when he was on that? Let's do the same, because they use that same exact trope in this one. Let's get Gordie, because he won't have any.
Handled that well.
Yeah, you won't have any new insights on this, except for that it was, but except for that it's a wonderful, awesome homage to the old serials, where that's exactly what would happen. The bad guy would go off the cliff, and the good guy would go off the cliff, and then the credits would roll, and then you had to wait till next week to see if he survived or not. So,
although to reference Annie Wilkes from Misery, she called out just this exact sort of thing. That in the serials, you see the guy crash. And I go, oh my gosh, he crashed and died. And at the beginning of the next one, you see him get out of the car and he's fine. And she'd be furious because he didn't get out of the cock-a-doodie car. And the same thing is happening right here. Indy, the last time we saw him, he was on the tank. And we didn't see him get off. You don't see this huge wide shot where if he had gotten off the tank, you would see him. And he's not there.
There's no figure hanging on the side of the cliff.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, but but it's like there's lots of vines. I mean, it's clear that it's, once again, another homage to King Kong too, where
I don't remember this movie. I don't remember what happens. I'm watching it right now. I'm thrilled that it ends right here. And I do see, I guess there's some swinging. There's a little bit of vines moving.
Yeah.
It's the only thing I can put together, but I have no idea where Indy is.
Right. You can guess, though.
I have no idea where we are in this podcast.
No.
It's that same feeling.
None of us do. None of us do.
Well, speaking of none of us knowing what's coming,
listen, I'm going to telegraph this one. There's something coming.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, okay. Telegraph.
Yes, there's something coming through the wires.
Okay.
Yes, there's something coming over the wires. It's happening right now. This just in from Professor Christy Porter. How would Han Solo have handled this?
Oh.
Which part?
I think
the ramming of the head into the tank, the falling off the tank. This
tank scene.
I kind of feel like he would have scrambled off the back of the tank, and you would see him maybe skid to a stop inches from the edge or something like that. And, he'd be fine, but beaten up and stuff.
He'd Pee Wee Herman it, and I meant to do that.
Right. Hey, it's me.
Yeah.
I feel like it would have something to do with Chewbacca.
Sure.
Sure.
You say Chewbacca?
That's how.
Chewbacca.
Yeah.
He said Chewbacca.
You said Chewbacca.
Chewie.
It's like he says
Chewbacca.
Dagobah. Paintron.
Oh, boy.
I just we're on. I just Chewbacca.
Chewbacca. All right. Hey, can I just say something?
Chewbacca.
Speaking about Jerry being weird, I have in my note. I can't believe this. I have in my notes. Jerry's going to give a half-hour screed about Indy losing his hat, and that didn't happen. I can't believe that.
I was surprised at that too.
I feel like we started to get to that, and then it just didn't happen. I'm not complaining. I'm just sort of amazed that.
No, I think it's. I'll talk about that right now. Briefly.
You'll get your chance.
No, it's very dangerous. This might be the closest I've seen Indiana Jones come to death, and his hat flying off, and it actually may have been dare I say, a Yahweh breeze.
Okay, but then
maybe his number's up.
I figured you were going to go that way, but then he's totally fine.
That sucks.
Almost as if his hat has
I don't
nothing
know
to
that
do
he's
with what's
totally
going on in the
fine.
movie.
How do you know
I don't
that,
know.
Tom?
Yeah.
I'm just guessing.
Well,
he's the star of the movie.
Yeah, I mean,
they
if
would have
he's
killed him off
totally
either
fine,
much sooner or much later.
Yeah, if he's totally fine, that sucks and is stupid. So
Okay.
maybe tomorrow there may be, next week, whatever, the next show there'll be a half-hour screed.
Okay. The conversation
But no,
continues.
listen, I like where you're going with that. But to be fair, he does lose his hat on occasion, and he hasn't died yet.
Yeah.
He becomes more vulnerable. So, which
we'll
he clearly
see.
is.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So just before he goes off the cliff and we're wondering about if he's going to live or die, they do that focus in where his hat flies off, and then there's a close up on his face. When I watched that last night, I said, "Man, he looks a lot like oh crap! Now I forgot the guy's name. Jeez, the guy in Before Midnight and Before Sunrise and all those movies. Boyhood. Ethan Hawke. He looks exactly like a young Ethan Hawke would have also been a good young Indiana Jones. The way it focuses in, it's just like, for some reason, it just totally reminded me of Ethan Hawke.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Is there this is the third face close-up in the movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other face close-ups in the previous two movies like
No.
these?
I don't
Did they just kind of had like a face close-up fetish?
Oh, there's a great one in Raiders of the Lost Ark where it's much better than any of these, where he just runs up in the Cairo basket chase and they zero in on his eyes.
Right. Yeah, that was a beautiful one.
Yeah.
We'll get one
true,
in
you're right.
we'll get one in Crystal Skull too. That's not so beautiful.
Ugh.
And on that note, Gordie, thank you for.
Well, yeah, thanks very much. And I was like I teased last episode, I was going to talk about how Facebook brings people together. And some of you already might know because it was a thread last year. I can't remember what we were talking about on the Indiana Jones Listeners Crusade over on Facebook. I brought up that I was a mailman in St. Helena, and one of our fellow podcast listeners said, "Hey, my relatives live in St. Helena." And I said, "Oh yeah?" And I looked at her face and I went, "Oh, I'm their mailman." So I was literally her sister's mailman.
Oh, that's fun.
Wow.
Yeah. So she lives in Minnesota, and every once in a while she sends a package to her sister. And I look at the return address and I see it and I take a picture of it and then I message her. I go, "Hey, package came."
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's a big world, but it's a small world at times.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I had a really great time doing this. I'm glad you had me back, and I'm looking forward to Crystal Skull. I can't remember if I even have a favorite part of Crystal Skull. So you can ask me to do any minute. I'll be fine with it.
Has anyone ever said the phrase "favorite part of Crystal Skull" before?
Well, thank you, Gordie.
Yeah, we got through it.
Yep. And thank you, listeners, for getting through it with us. And are we going to be back tomorrow? I don't know.
We may have gone off a cliff.
You'll find out tomorrow morning when you open your podcast player. Will we be there? That's the cliffhanger.